Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Elise and this is 10 to Life. We have a lot to go over today in the ongoing case of missing 7-year-old Harmony Montgomery. We are going to be going over timelines today, theories, the newest press conference, the new charges against the stepmother Kayla, the newest statements from biological mother Crystal. We have a lot to talk about today, so smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, and let's get into it.
10 to Life with Elise starts right now.
All right, guys, as I mentioned, my name is Elise, and this is 10 to Life. Thank you so much to all of you returning subscribers for coming back and taking a look at today's video. And if you're brand new stopping by for the first time, welcome. If you enjoy the coverage today and hearing what I have to say, please don't forget to show your support for the channel by hitting that subscribe button and that like button below. So let me just give you guys a breakdown of everything we're going to be talking about today in the video, because it is going to be a lot. We are going to start with the latest press conference that the Manchester PD gave, and I'm going to play that for you, and we're going to talk about it. Then we're going to talk about the newest 8 charges against Kayla Montgomery, Harmony Montgomery's stepmother. And while those charges aren't extremely groundbreaking, we're going to talk about them for a second. Then I have put together a graphic with an actual timeline of events within that period between October and January, October of 2019 and January of 2020. And for me, it always helps when I put things in a timeline, and I'm a visual person. And so that's why I wanted to create a similar graphic for you guys to see, because as I was putting this together, I got a pretty clear idea of what I believe happened to Harmony and when she disappeared. And I'm going to explain exactly why, because there are certain circumstances that happen on certain days that are starting to add up to me, and the puzzle pieces are starting to fit together. So we're going to talk about that. We also are going to go over the latest public statement that Crystal Sorey, Harmony's biological mother, gave, and talk a little bit about that. And we're also going to talk about how law enforcement and DCYF once again dropped the ball here in this case, all the way back to the last known official sighting of Harmony, and how they screwed that date up by approximately 30 days. And we know every single day counts. So let's jump right into it with the latest press conference from Manchester law enforcement.
That's frustrating, but we're going to stay after it. And that's why I want to get back out here today to keep this story fresh. And I do appreciate all that the media has done on our behalf to keep the story out there. So again, I ask that you continue to do that, and I'll continue to be as upfront and transparent with all of you as I can relative to the investigation.
Chief, we've been exploring the dynamic with calls for service to 77 Guilford Street.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my question is, when we pulled the calls for service, we could see when it was indicated, DCYF notified, DCYF notified. My question is, do they close that circuit with police? If that agency responds to that address, do they contact you guys and say, hey, we went by?
Not all the time, no. No, we have pretty established procedures and protocols here that have been in place for many years, very redundant system relative to how we report things at DCYF. We're a mandatory reporter like many other state agencies, many other agencies in this state. So we make many referrals to DCYF on a daily basis. So they'll be notified by us. Generally, they'll generate a letter back notifying us essentially that they received that correspondence, and if they need any further assistance from us from a criminal side, a criminal perspective, then they will involve us in that investigation. So they may get notified by us, hey, thank you, we've received it. At this point, there's no criminal aspect, and we're involving other state agencies, other services with the family to hopefully bring it to an appropriate resolution.
And I just want to verify, were they the notifying agency that started this missing persons case? We established that, right?
Yes. I can tell you that when we were notified, again, I don't want to get too depth into the timeline, but we've been working with DCYF in terms of this investigation. And like I said before, we opened our missing person investigation on the 27th of December. After
But he's not necessarily saying if that was because of DCYF.
we received, additional information that obviously drew us to draw the conclusion, made us draw the conclusion that, okay, we need to open this formal investigation and take this down a different path that we're going down right now.
Are you able to speak at all of any mistakes DCYF may have made? You mentioned some of the calls to the house and, Harmony has seen some of those.
Yeah, I get that narrative wants to be out there, that the public.
I'm sorry. It is not a narrative that the public wants out there. It is fact-driven. We all saw all of the laundry list of calls that were made where DCF was notified and there was little to no follow-up. And I get it. Government agencies, band together and protect each other. But for him to say, and maybe he'll change it in a minute here, to say, I get that that's the narrative the public wants to spin. No. It's black and white fact. It's not a narrative. It's just the public is now calling everybody out on it.
Family, perhaps, whoever is looking to blame somebody, right? And I think that's a natural reaction when it comes to things like this. I'm just not going to do that right now. I would tell you that I am extremely confident in the work that was done by the Manchester Police Department with our involvement prior to 12/27, dating back. You have them, right? Those many calls for service that we went there.
We have them. Do you have them?
I will stand behind the work of this police department that led us up to 12/27, and I stand even firmer behind it from 12/27 to today. I'm not going to point fingers at any other agency because I don't think it's going to do the investigation any good. I'm standing in front of you, okay?
Okay. Yes, I agree. Pointing fingers doesn't necessarily do the investigation any good because how does that help Harmony? Unfortunately, in this moment, it doesn't. But what it does do is it holds those other agencies accountable so that we don't have another situation like this in the future. So, while it may not be helpful to this particular investigation anymore because the ball has already been dropped, it absolutely could contribute to young children's lives in the future. All you got to do is hold that agency accountable. That's it. Small, easy, done.
I'm the one answering questions. So if that doesn't paint the picture, I'm going to leave it at that. All right?
Can we go back to the reward in terms of who would qualify for the reward?
We need the information first. All right? We need to have what the information is, the information that we receive, and then if that leads us to Harmony, then we will determine how that money will be dispersed out. But I need to.
Okay, sorry guys, I know I keep pausing it and it's super annoying, but I'm going to just share my thoughts here. While I understand that you can't just give a blanket statement as to who would qualify for the reward money, because then you're going to be getting all these phony tips called in and all these things, at the same time, saying that you'll make that determination once you have the information, while I understand it, it also is a little bit frustrating because the people who most likely do have the information, I would imagine, are shady people who are driven by money. So if they aren't, if they don't believe truly that they can obtain that money by ratting people out and sharing information, then what's enticing them to actually do that? You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? It's just like, for them, I would imagine it's the money that is the driving force to share the information. But if they're right now saying, well, once we get that information, then we'll let you know. It's like, okay, well, if you can't guarantee that I'm going to get the money, why am I going to share information with you? And again, this is assuming that it's, these shady, I don't even know what to say. You know what I'm talking about, that kind of group of people.
To know what the information is first before I can accurately answer that question.
And one of the tough things here is it seems like the last two people that were in her life are both in jail, the two adults. Is that how tough this is, to try to find somebody beyond the two of them to help you in this investigation?
Yeah, it's all part of the investigation. And if the investigation leads us, down another path, then we're going to go down that path. I'm going to go down every path that this investigation takes us to. That's why I got some hard and very dedicated men and women upstairs working very hard, chasing everything down that we can. And it becomes, investigations like this become complex. There's a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot of a lot of dates that need to be figured out and timelines, but we're working on that very hard every day.
Chief, two questions.
Go
One
ahead.
is, why would the AG's office be involved? This is question number one. And number two is...
That raises some eyebrows, but, you know, they bring to me, you know, resources that I may not be able to get from the county attorney's office. No, I'm not disparaging them, but the attorneys up there are, if you will, more versed in these type of investigations, just like they got involved in the Merrimack investigation. All right, separate investigations, but they've been very helpful to me, and I have no doubt that they will continue to do so.
And the second question is we know FBI was involved, DCYF was involved. Are there any other major agencies that are involved right now?
At this time, no.
State police, are they in?
They're not.
They're not.
Nope, but the Colonel Noyes has reached out to me and offered any assistance that he can. I know that was, if I needed anything from state police, I have no doubt if I called him, he would assist me.
Yeah. What is your thought thinking about Harmony right now? Do you believe that Harmony's still alive?
I'm going to, until, I said it before, and good question. You know, I have to remain hopeful, all right? The public has to remain hopeful. And that's why I keep going back to somebody knows something. Until somebody tells me otherwise, or shows me something concrete and valuable that says that she's not, then this investigation is geared towards as if Harmony is still alive.
So the last...
Wouldn't you want that for you?
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
For my child, absolutely. Right. So the multi-day search of Guilford Street did not result in finding Harmony. I know you're not going to talk about whatever evidence may have been pulled out of there, but is there some other place that you want to draw people's attention to? Because if it's not that house, they're in a car, they're going back and forth. Where else should people kind of draw their attention to and try to think of, did you see this little girl?
That's why I'm trying to get this nationwide, and it has gone nationwide, it's gone international, all right? It's a good question, Bob, but I don't want to comment on that with, you know, to compromise the investigation. I can tell you that should we get anything like that, that we feel that the public could help us in regards to a particular location or a particular state, I feel it would be appropriate to share that. But right now, doing so would not be, it's not going to add any value to the investigation. Right?
So the last time that the Manchester police saw her is September 2019, September 11th, I think. And DCYF about a month later, and then the family says that the extended family said they last saw her around Thanksgiving, the first week of December. Is that?
Yeah, and I think when I first met with, back on New Year's Eve,
Yeah.
It was my fault, I had given it an appropriate
Yeah.
date, but it doesn't change the overall timeline. All right, the last time that MPD saw Harmony Montgomery was on September 11th of 19. And believe that report is already out there because many of you done a right to know request on that. So that is the last
Sure did.
time that Manchester police saw Harmony Montgomery for a call for service, so which was documented in a report, and that report was referred to DCYF.
And then what is do you have a date that you're all working on, the last time that anyone has actually seen her, beyond September 11th, 19?
We're going with, I'm sorry, one more time?
Hey, do you, as you investigate this, do you have your own date that law enforcement is looking at as, this is the last time we know that anybody saw Harmony Montgomery?
It's that October, November timeframe of 19.
So what
But that October, November was not confirmed by an actual official agency. DCYF originally had said it was October, but now all of the records are showing that the last known sighting of Harmony by actual credible people was that September 11th sighting. That's a pretty big miss.
the step-grandmother is saying about day after Thanksgiving to December 6th, that's what she's saying, but you're going with something a little bit earlier than that, right?
Again, that October, November timeframe of 19 is what we're operating on right now, and I don't want to go any further on that in terms of the investigation.
Okay.
We know that the father and the stepmother are in custody right now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you access them to ask them questions? How does that work?
There's a process in place. You know, if those two people want to talk to the Manchester Police Department about this case. That can happen anytime, any place. And there's a process in place for that to happen through their legal counsel. And the door's open, the phone's open. I don't care if it's 2 in the morning, we'll be available to have that discussion if they want.
Would they qualify for the reward?
Depends on the information.
Oh my
And
gosh.
You gotta need to know what that information is.
Guys, hold on for a second. Can you imagine that if Kayla flips on Adam and shares what she knows and gets that reward money? Can you imagine? Because what if she flips on him to get a deal for whether it's for a lesser sentence, if she was involved, assuming she was involved, of course, for a lesser sentence or immunity, and then she gets the reward money. Can you even imagine? Now that would be insane. Insane.
In order to even remotely try to answer that question.
Chief, what about looking outside New Hampshire, into Massachusetts and beyond? Is that something that are there digital billboards going up? Have you thought about it? Have you guys thinking of putting that in a plan?
We have digital billboards out there. We also have...
In New Hampshire, right?
In New Hampshire. We also have the gas station monitors, if you will. Those are up and running. And I can confirm, but I think we are on billboards in other states. All right, we are.
So it's something that you are considering that it could have been taken and she might be someone else?
Could be. I mean, I can't just...
Sorry, I'm going to sneeze really quick, or I feel like I'm going to sneeze, but then I had a thought I wanted to share with you. Hold on. Excuse me. Sorry, that was probably right in the mic and probably so loud. This got me thinking when he said this, because absolutely at this point Harmony could be anywhere, whether it was Adam disposing of Harmony or if he did in fact, what Crystal is suggesting he did. And it's getting me thinking that if he were disposing of her, he absolutely could easily go and do that in Massachusetts in an effort to make it look as though Crystal did that, because he was telling everyone that Crystal was the last person with her. He dropped her off there. She picked her up, all of these things that I wonder if, when all of this comes to an end, at the very end, I wonder if they would find Harmony there, assuming that's the ending that this has, and if it's, in a means to not frame her, because obviously I don't think he's that calculated and smart, just my personal opinion, to plant evidence and do all of that, but to put her in closer proximity to Crystal so that they looked at her rather than him, because I can't imagine that when he did whatever he did, and again, this is just assuming that he did something, I can't imagine that he would have known that at this point it would have come to this. So maybe he would have thought if they had discovered her prior to him being arrested, they'd think it's tied to Crystal. I don't know. The wheels are turning, guys.
Focus on Manchester, New Hampshire for this investigation, right? That would be negligent to do so. So as broad as a net as we can cast, that's what we intend to do. And again, that's why I felt it was important to come back out again, and I will continue to do so. So with that, I'll leave it at that. I appreciate everybody's time. I appreciate you guys keeping Harmony's her name and her face out there. And I ask that you continue to do so.
Just one little thing. Can you give us a sense when people reach out and say they want to add to that reward pot, what they're saying, what's motivating them? What's that conversation? Any kind of concept?
I think they care for another human being, right? They care for a little girl who's unaccounted for, and it's their way of what can I do? And if it's right now that all I can do is, not all, but if my part is giving money to a fund that may bring her home, then yeah, we welcome that. Absolutely.
I mean, it's heartbreaking to think this is the third winter. We're going to the third winter, but she hasn't had a home. We don't know where she is.
We're going to find out. All right? Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Okay, guys, so what did you guys think of that press conference? I mean, obviously not any huge leads or intel that was shared, but there were a few little nuggets there that got the wheels turning for me and that I didn't like, as far as kind of trying to give a free pass, so to speak, to DCYF. And again, if we just go back to that last known sighting, originally we had heard October, but nobody can account for any paperwork or any confirmation that that ever happened. The last actual known sighting was September 11th, and it's like, ugh. God, guys, how does this keep happening? How does this keep happening? Okay, so next, let's just talk quickly about Kayla Montgomery, Harmony Montgomery's stepmother, because we know that she was already charged with that felony charge for welfare fraud. Well, now she has 8 more misdemeanor charges tied back to welfare fraud, and it coincides with all of the different times that she had signed paperwork, that she filed for the benefits, all of those things. So the charges are just stacking, and ultimately her bail request that she had submitted, that motion to reduce her bail or completely get rid of bail, was denied because now she has these additional 8 misdemeanors against her. Hopefully, again, that continues to just apply pressure to her so that hopefully she starts talking, but stay tuned. Which also, P.S., I think she already has started talking, and we talked about that in the last video. So now let's talk a little bit too about Crystal's new statement that she released, and then I'm going to go into that timeline I told you about, and I'm going to pull it up on the screen, and we're going to go through all of those key milestone dates in that window of time when Harmony disappeared, and we're going to talk about them, and I'm going to share what I think may have happened. So let me first start with Crystal's statement. Okay, so I'm going to put this up on the screen and I'm going to read it to you. As a mother who has confronted addiction, I realize I too have failed Harmony in the past, but the safety nets in place that were supposed to protect Harmony during my battle, including DCYF and law enforcement, failed my little girl. Battling addiction is common in this country. Recovery is less common, but I took the necessary steps to do that. Once I did recover, I kicked and screamed against the legal challenges to find out where Harmony was and if she was safe. Both the DCYF and police failed to answer me during those periods. Today, they wish to minimize that. We just saw that. I've been honest about my past. Are they? And this statement to me felt very, very bold because I know that there are a lot of mixed opinions out there about, if Crystal was, I don't want to say was a good mother, but if Crystal had involvement, if she could have helped. And I believe that she absolutely could have demanded answers sooner in a more public way, because I could see where even if she was calling the police every day, DCYF every day, maybe they weren't taking her seriously because of her past with addiction, because she no longer had rights or custody to Harmony. So I could see where she could potentially have been getting stonewalled if that were the case. But I do believe she could have taken it to the media or to the mayor like she ended up doing a lot sooner. And maybe we wouldn't be in this position at all, or in a position where so much time has gone by and making it that much more challenging to actually get a concrete lead. That being said, I think that she's one of the very few people in this entire situation that is taking any shred of accountability. She's even saying right there, I failed her too. We all failed her. I'm taking accountability for that. Why aren't you? Aiming that question, pointing that at DCYF and even law enforcement. And I had mentioned too on one of my previous videos where she had given an interview that she does seem to be, at least to me, a concerned mother who has remorse and who has worry about Harmony. And she's been adamant that she still believes that Harmony's alive. The circumstances for that are unfortunate, and I hope that that piece of it is absolutely not true as to what she thinks Adam did with Harmony. But I felt like she was very level-headed in those interviews, and it's hard to judge somebody who does struggle and battle with an addiction like that and what their mindset is. And she knew she wasn't good for Harmony. Unfortunately, the system failed her. Now, allegedly she is sober and clean and has been trying to get back in touch with her. So my heart feels for her a bit. While I also don't think she's innocent or gets a free pass in this, I can't help but feel for her in this moment and feel her frustration. And I know that a lot of you guys won't agree with that, and that's okay. But, and again, I don't think she's right in this equation at all, but I think she's the only one right now, really, truly, who's stepping up at all in any sort of regard. And it is, yes, too little, too late, unfortunately, but hey, at least she is doing something, and she's not putting the blame and excuses on all of these other people, and she's taking accountability herself. So now let's pull up that timeline I told you about, and I put this together because I really wanted to walk my way through this case in that crucial time period of just those few months in the end of 2019 to see if anything started to make sense. And for me, it did start to paint a little bit of a picture. So here we see on September 11th, 2019 was that last sighting of Harmony by her Uncle Kevin and or her great Uncle Kevin, I should say, and law enforcement when they went to that house when there was that altercation between Kevin and Adam. Then we fast forward to November 28th, 2019, and this was Thanksgiving Day. Now, Adam later told law enforcement that this was the day that Crystal came to pick up Harmony. However, according to Kayla, the very next day on the 29th was the last day she saw Harmony when Adam told Kayla that he was taking Harmony to Crystal's. So here is this little 2-day window of when Kayla and Adam's story is as far as when they last saw Harmony was, okay? Then we have Kayla's mother, I'm going to skip it to that in a second. Then between the 29th, that day that Adam allegedly told Kayla he was taking Harmony to Crystal's, and around the 2nd of December, a neighbor of theirs returns from her Thanksgiving vacation away, and she says that the entire family had moved out and was gone, and that prior to them moving out, they were getting evicted, so they were squatting, and there's been some confusion as to what squatting means. It's basically if you get foreclosed on or if you get evicted and you refuse to leave the property, you're squatting, essentially. So they had been evicted, and I think actually the home was being foreclosed on, perhaps. I don't exactly know those details, but reportedly they had been squatting this whole entire early fall time period. And then she returns from vacation after Thanksgiving between the 29th and the 2nd of December, and the entire family is gone. Then we also hear Kayla's mother speak out in that interview that she gave, and she says that her last known sighting of Harmony was also between the 29th, that aligns with Kayla and Adam, and the 6th of December. Now, I don't really know why there's such a large spread in that time period. That's a week, and that seems like a pretty large spread to remember when you last saw someone, especially because there are like milestone dates. Like there's Thanksgiving, there's Black Friday, there's the weekend after Thanksgiving. Like there's like it's such a time period that you would be able to, I would think, remember. So something there doesn't sit right with me. But anyways, she gave this spread as far as the last known sighting. Well, then we know that on between January 11th and January 12th, Adam returned to that house and left the door open to air out a smell. And we know that because law enforcement responded to a call about that door on the 12th of January. And they got the call saying this door is wide open, there were squatters in there, it's been vacant, a concerned citizen, whatever it may be. So they arrive, and then they follow up with Adam via cell phone, who says that he confirms he left the door open to air out an odor. Okay, guys. When I look at this, the first thing that comes to mind, and tell me what you think in the comments below and in the chat, what you think. I believe that between the 29th of November and between when they left the house, whether that was, that weekend or whenever it was, I think something happened to Harmony, and I think that they left her inside that house. And then I think Adam came back on the 11th of January, a month or so later, and I believe that he went to move Harmony. And again, this is under the assumption that Harmony is no longer with us. And because truthfully, that's unfortunately just my gut belief, and I hope I'm wrong. It's just my gut belief. So I hope I'm wrong, but I'm sharing what I think. So I believe that he came back to that house to then move or dispose of Harmony, and that is where that odor came from a decomposing body. I can't imagine that if it were anything else, whether it was built up trash, garbage, anything like that, because they were squatting and had food containers everywhere and all of that, that he would care enough about the condition of the home to leave the door open if it was just garbage smelling, because obviously he didn't care about the condition of the home. It was being foreclosed on. He was squatting. There was trash and garbage everywhere. It was a disaster. And typically when people do leave homes in that situation, it's like, there's holes in the wall, there's paint, it's just like paint scrapes, it's just a zoo. So I can't imagine that he would open the door to air out it as, a good Samaritan for no reason. I believe it's because it was an identifying odor and it was strong, and he didn't want anybody to question it or for it to raise concern or alarm. And I believe that that is where the odor stemmed from. My theory about that, further gets bolstered through the recent search of the property, because while we know that they didn't find Harmony at that property, they were looking for evidence, and we don't know what evidence they found. They haven't spoken up about that, but they could have found trace evidence, forensic evidence, anything to indicate that she was in fact there and that something may have taken place at that property. And again, it also kind of solidifies this theory, knowing that she was not found at the property. She wasn't buried there. She wasn't disposed of there that we know of at this point. I don't believe they found anything, and that's why they, closed up shop and left. I think if they even still thought that was a possibility, things would still be marked off. So that's what I think. But what do you think? I think that the timeline, when you just look at these dates, that the 29th, that Thanksgiving weekend, seems to be when it all happened, especially because then within a few days, the entire family leaves. I would imagine they didn't leave with Harmony, that something happened in that home. Then he comes back to air it out and to possibly maybe move her body. It's after Christmas now. It's after New Year's Eve. It's after doing whatever he's been doing. And he comes back. He's trying to move it, trying to dispose of it, and then leaves the door wide open to air it out, hoping nobody will notice. Maybe I'm way off. But guys, through everything I've watched in my years of true crime, everything I've researched, everything I've heard, this is what I believe. What do you believe? Let me know in the comments. I'm hopeful that we're going to get a lot more answers in this case over the next few days and weeks. I hope Kayla starts talking. I hope that law enforcement shares whatever evidence they did find at the property. I hope more people come forward with tips. And most importantly, I hope that we find Harmony and we get these answers for her. I mean, it's interesting because when you think back to on that press conference, that reporter asked a question and then said, this is the third winter that Harmony hasn't had a home. And when you think about it that way, guys, it is just absolutely heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking. So hopefully we get some answers soon. And like the police chief said, this case has now not only gone national, but it's gone international. So please continue sharing it. Share this link. Share your a different link. Share anybody's Twitter. Just share it. Talk about the story. Talk about the case so that everybody knows Harmony's name, so that hopefully more tips get brought in and we get answers faster and there's some justice that is done for Harmony in this just awful, senseless, irritating with DCYF case. I will keep you guys updated as I continue researching and as I learn more. So again, make sure you subscribe if you haven't done so already and turn your notification bell to on, whether you're subscribed or not, so that you get notified when these updates happen in real time. Thanks again for tuning in with me today, guys. If you enjoyed the coverage, don't forget to give this video a like on your way out, and I will talk with you very soon. Until the next case, stay safe. Bye.